I sent a message in the family chat. Flight at 3 p.m. Can anyone pick me up? My brother only replied. I wrote to the family group chat. My flight gets in at 3 p.m. Can anyone come pick me up? I had just buried my husband overseas. My brother replied, We're busy. Take an Uber. My mother even said, Why didn't you organize yourself better? I just wrote back, No problem. What they saw on the news that night made them all drop their phones. Before I continue, I invite you to subscribe to the channel here and leave a like on the thumbs up button. It helps me a lot. And tell me, where are you listening to my story from? What time is it in your country? I'd love to know. Right after takeoff, I sent the message. It was a group chat message with no dramatic punctuation or grieving emojis, just facts. Flight arrives at 3 p.m. Can anyone come pick me up? I had just buried my husband. A military funeral on foreign soil, the folded flag, a 21-gun salute, and a coffin that felt heavier than anything I had ever had to carry, even if I wasn't alone. We were married for years, most of them spent apart. Deployments don't respect anniversaries, but love doesn't demand receipts. I wasn't asking for much, just a ride home. The reply came even before we reached cruising altitude. The first one from my brother was, We're busy. Try Uber. 2 minutes later, my mother asked, Why didn't you organize yourself better? No questions about the funeral, not a word of condolence. We're proud of him, someone wrote, cold, quick, impersonal. I sat by the window watching the plane rise above the clouds and stared into the void. It was a different kind of silence than grief. It was the silence of realization. You expect family to hold you up, but sometimes they're the ones holding the knife. I wrote back, No problem. That was it. No fight, no blame, just silence. When I landed, I didn't cry or beg. I straightened my coat, walked past the baggage claim and past other passengers hugging their loved ones, and got into a black SUV that was already waiting for me at the curb. Because the thing is, while they were busy and judging me, they didn't know who else was on the flight with me, what I was bringing from the base, or who was waiting behind the headlines. That night, I didn't send a second message. I didn't post anything. But when the 9 p.m. news started and their phones lit up with the live coverage, I know they saw it. I know their forks dropped. I know my mother's wine glass must have hit the tile. And one thing I'm sure of, they will never forget what I did next. The clip lasted less than 60 seconds. It was enough. In the middle of the evening news, after the weather forecast and before the sports, the anchor spoke with that trained calm, the kind used to report both tragedies and triumphs. Today, a widow returned home after her husband's military funeral. Alone but not unnoticed. Then came the footage. A black SUV at the airport curb. Me getting out still dressed in black, holding the folded flag against my chest. Behind me, 3 uniformed soldiers, 2 women and a man, all in full dress uniform. They didn't just accompany me. They stood behind me, shoulders straight, backs erect like shields. The camera zoomed in just enough to capture the moment I turned and handed something to one of them. A small box with a white ribbon. The reporter continued. In an unexpected gesture, the widow was not met by her family, but by her husband's former unit, who organized a military tribute and a personal escort. She declined interviews but left a handwritten note for the press. The screen filled with my clear, firm words. If you find yourself alone at the height of your grief, don't look for those who abandoned you there. Look for those who show up anyway. RM. They didn't say my full name, but they didn't need to. Everyone in the group chat knew exactly what they were watching. The camera pulled back. The last image, me walking away between the 2 soldiers, back to the black SUV. No tears, no interview, no plea for sympathy. Just dignified truth, broadcast on every major channel and into living rooms across the city. Into my mother's kitchen, into my brother's apartment. The phones dropped, the forks clattered, and silence filled the spaces they thought were safe. They had sent a message and now so had I. The group chat remained silent for the next 24 hours. No reaction, no apology, just silence. But silence has its own story, and theirs was beginning to unravel. My sister-in-law sent a private message. Was that you on Channel 5? I didn't answer. She didn't ask again, but the story was spreading. The image of me, flanked by soldiers, cloaked in grief but standing like a statue, was everywhere. Behind the scenes, the people who had left me alone were trying to rewrite history. My mother tried first. She posted an old photo of my brother and me, maybe 7 or 8 years old, holding hands at a parade. The caption, "Family over everything always." I didn't like it. I didn't comment. I didn't have to, because the most liked reply came from someone else. "You didn't even pick her up from the airport." The sentence was shared repeatedly, not by me, but by people who still believe loyalty is a two-way street. Then it was my brother's turn. He sent me a message, one line. I didn't realize it was serious. "You should have said something." I read it twice. I laughed once. As if grief needed advance notice. As if burying my husband in a country whose name they could barely pronounce was something I should have communicated better. I typed a reply, then deleted it. I typed another. I deleted that one too. Finally, I just sent, "You made your choice." So did I. No anger, no punctuation. Just a mirror. The best part was I didn't need to say anything more, because the media had already requested a follow-up, and this time they wanted me to talk. Not just walk, not just grieve, they wanted the story. And I fully intended to tell it. I hadn't planned to speak. I didn't want to. But silence sometimes protects the wrong people. So when the network called again and asked if I'd be willing to give a voice to widowhood, I said yes. Not for pity, not for views, but for the truth. The interview was filmed in a quiet studio. No harsh lights, just a camera, a microphone, and the anchor in front of me. With kind eyes and a firm tone, he asked the first question carefully. "What happened when you landed?" I took a deep breath and said the sentence I had been holding in my chest for days. "I buried my husband with honor, and I came home to silence." The room went still. Even the cameraman stopped moving. I told them what happened, how I sent a simple message, how I received 2 replies colder than the wind at the airport terminal, how I was met not by family, but by people in uniform who knew what it meant to show up. I didn't name names. I didn't drag them into the public sphere. But I said, blood doesn't make someone family. Presence does. The segment aired that night in prime time. 6 minutes. One voice, no music, no editing, just me. Firm, raw, real. The response was immediate. Strangers reached out to me, veterans, widows, people who said they too had come home to empty curbs and silent living rooms. But the silence in the group chat was different. My mother left it without explanation. My brother changed the group's name from Radiant Family Heart to The Group. And me? I archived it. Because when you're abandoned at your lowest, you stop begging people to become who they should have been all along. This story wasn't revenge. It was a record. And now it lived beyond my control. It started small. A letter in my mailbox, no return address, just careful handwriting. "I saw you on the news. My husband never came back. You made me feel less alone." Then it spread. Local veterans groups shared the clip. A Gold Star Mothers page reposted the entire segment. A network of military spouses reached out, offering support, flowers, shoulders I hadn't asked for but suddenly needed. And then came the candlelight vigil, organized by strangers, with dozens of people I had never met but who knew the weight of folded flags. I stood at the back, my hood up. They weren't mourning for me. They were standing for me. For every person who ever sat alone on an airport curb when they should have been met with open arms. Someone sang quietly, a girl no older than 16 with a catch in her voice. "I will carry you home." I almost lost my composure. Almost. Then I saw something that steeled me again. My brother at the edge of the crowd, hands in his pockets, head down. He didn't speak. He didn't approach. But he saw it all. The way strangers showed up when family didn't. The way a community shouldered a burden my own blood refused to touch. The next morning I received a message from him. No greeting, just, "I didn't think it would get this big." I looked at the screen, thought of everything I wanted to say, and then typed, "That's the thing about grief. It either builds walls or it builds bridges. You chose your side." No reply. And that was fine. This story wasn't about him anymore. It was about those who were watching, those who were whispering, "Me too." Those who needed to know that dignity can bloom where disappointment once lay. Weeks passed. The flowers on my porch didn't stop, nor did the letters. But something inside me shifted. I didn't want to be just a story, a shared personal experience. I wanted to build something, and so I did. It started with a name, the Welcome Home Project, a nonprofit for military spouses returning home alone. Airport greetings, support groups, welcome teams. Not pity but support, the kind that shows up. The news spread quickly. Volunteers signed up from 5 states in the first 3 days. Someone donated a van. Someone else offered their event space for free. By the second week, we had our first welcome team at JFK Airport, holding a sign that read, "We are here for you." The photo went viral, and suddenly the Welcome Home project was in newspapers and on podcasts. And guess who called? My mother. I let the call go to voicemail. Her voice broke on the second sentence. I didn't know how to help. I didn't think you'd want us there. I deleted it. Not out of anger or for peace, but because I no longer needed it. Some wounds don't close because someone apologizes. They close because you stop bleeding for people who would have kept watching you drown. My brother sent a message too. A donation receipt. Small, anonymous. I knew it was him, but I didn't reply because it wasn't about guilt. It was about the truth, the kind that builds vans and support kits and holds up signs at the gate when no one else shows up. Sometimes you don't burn bridges. You just build better ones somewhere else. And when people ask me what started all of this project, this movement, I always smile and say, a flight that landed at 3 p.m. and nobody came. They called it the Quiet Revolution. The article was front page news. The photo was of me at a welcome event, my arms around a young woman holding a folded flag to her chest, her eyes red, her smile fragile. The caption, "From grief to a support team. How one widow changed coming home." The day the article was published, I received a text from an unknown number. Just a screenshot of the text, no message. I recognized the number. It was my mother's. That night, I was invited to speak at a local memorial for military families. It wasn't a performance or a speech, just a story. I stood at the podium, the air heavy with candlelight and wind. Rows of faces looked up, some proud, some broken, all listening. I told them what happened, but without bitterness. I didn't name names. I didn't point fingers. I said, I came home alone, but I didn't stay that way. I spoke about Liam, my husband, his laugh, his letters. The way he once told me, if anything happens to me, don't let the silence win. And I hadn't. As I stepped down from the stage, someone touched my elbow. A woman in pearls, her eyes teary. My daughter, she said. She was at your first welcome home. You saved her. I held her hand tightly, as if that moment was all we needed. Behind her, in the distance, I saw them. My mother, my brother standing near a tree. They weren't invited, they didn't announce themselves. They just watched. And I let them. No greetings, no smiles, just the space between us filled with everything they never said. Because sometimes the punishment isn't anger. It's silence. It's being replaced. It's watching strangers applaud the daughter you forgot to pick up at the gate. I used to believe that closure came with an apology, a text, a phone call. A moment when the people who hurt you finally say the words they should have said when it mattered. But it didn't. Closure came quietly one night while I was alone in my kitchen, folding a Welcome Home Project t-shirt into a kit for another widow I'd never met. The house was quiet. No more group chats, no more waiting for someone to say, we're here. Because now I was the one showing up. And I was never alone again. The doorbell rang. It was a volunteer dropping off supplies, a young couple, newlyweds, both former military. She hugged me like we'd known each other our whole lives. And I realized we had, but not in the way family knows each other. In the way truth shows up. In the way people who survive the silence find each other. I never replied to my mother's last message. I never followed up on my brother's donation. And I never opened that group chat again. Because some people bury you in their silence, and others lift you up in theirs. That's what I'll tell the next woman who asks me how to survive being alone. I'll tell her what I learned sitting alone in that terminal. You don't get up by waiting for them. You get up by becoming what they were not. And one day when they're watching from the sidelines, when their phones light up with news you never sent directly, when strangers are chanting your name and they realize your story doesn't include them, they'll understand. Too late, but they'll understand. And you'll already be walking forward. Not alone. Never again. I sent the message as if it were just a detail. Can anyone come pick me up? I had just buried my husband. As if burying someone on foreign soil with a gun salute and a folded flag was a mere scheduling inconvenience. My brother replied that he was busy. My mother thought I should have been better organized. Oh yes, of course. The next time my husband dies, I'll schedule it on the family calendar in advance. When I got off the plane, I didn't wait for hugs. I waited for the black SUV and the 3 soldiers who escorted me as if I were someone important, as if mourning deserved an escort. While my family was judging my choices, they forgot that the flight also carried witnesses, and that sometimes secondhand shame is the best silence you can offer. That night, while they ate dinner and ignored what they had done, the entire country saw the footage. Me in black handing a box to a soldier surrounded by those who actually showed up. I didn't need to shout, I simply walked. And when the news showed the scene, I know exactly where the fork dropped, where the glass trembled. The best part of all? I didn't even have to say, "Did you see?" They already knew. And they will never forget it. What would you do if you were in my place? I really want to know your opinion here in the comments. And if you liked my story, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on the thumbs up button. It helps me a lot. Also, share it with more people. Your participation is very important to me. I'm counting on you. Okay, I'll see you in the next story.